Good afternoon. My name is Jim Ritz. I'm the Ontario County District Attorney. I'm here to announce that today we filed an 81 count indictment as it related to a defendant, Ronnie Boswell Jr., also known as Spaz, charging with multiple counts of criminal sale of a firearm, criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, criminal possession of a weapon in the third degree, and a number of drug-related counts, including criminal sale and criminal possession of a controlled substance in the third degree. These charges span crimes that are alleged to have occurred between October 1st of 2024 and January 2nd, 2025, but they stem from a narcotics investigation that began in Geneva in August of 2016. What did you write? 2024. In total, there were 14 firearms purchased and seized. 5 of those qualify as a statutorily defined assault weapon, 13 large capacity feeding devices, and approximately 2,600 fentanyl pills. This started as a quality of life complaint in the city of Geneva, and the Geneva Police Department put together an investigation into that quality of life and identified an individual went by the name of Spaz as the primary contributor, or as the contributor and salesperson of a number of drugs. As this investigation grew and Geneva put the effort in, they reached out, and this is a remarkable collaborative effort between Geneva Police Department, the Ontario County Sheriff's Department, the New York State Police, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, and the Seneca County Sheriff's Office, as well as my office. As a result, we were able to seize, as you can see before you, a number of firearms that were destined for the streets of Ontario County and taken off the streets and kept off the streets. The collaboration and the work that was done prevented the trafficking of these drugs as well as these guns, and certainly have made our streets safer. I want to be the first to thank the Geneva Police Department for initially putting the effort in, and to the Sheriff's Department, State Police, and ATF for collaborating. Also to our community members who saw something and reached out to the Geneva Police Department talking about this quality of life issue and making sure that they were part of the solution. We want those people to know that that outreach was heard, they are heard, and when they do this, our agencies will follow up and will absolutely take care of them as it relates to these investigations. We want their lives to be better, and we want to make sure that they are safe and that we have safety. Again, the fact that we were able to take these drugs and guns off the street is a remarkable achievement by a number of agencies. Finally, on January 2nd of 2025, there was a buy bust when Ronnie Boswell, also known as Spaz, was taken into custody. He had sold 200 fentanyl pills that day, a semi-automatic rifle, and a large capacity ammunition feeding device, as well as you can see on a number of occasions the ammunition for those weapons. When he was taken into custody, the buy money was taken from him and secured from him, so we know we have the right person. I know that, again, there was collaboration. I'm going to turn this over to Sheriff Dave Serencione, who will make some comments as it relates to his agency and the investigation.
Thank you, Jim. Sheriff Dave Serencione with Ontario County, I want to thank you all for being here. I most certainly want to reiterate the District Attorney's statements. I want to thank our partners at the District Attorney's Office, our local, state, and federal partners with the Geneva Police Department, Seneca County Sheriff's Office, New York State Police, and ATF for their collaboration, not just on this case, but you know, I have spoken with each of you several times over the last few months on some significant cases that we have been able to bring some of these dealers to justice in different cases. And in each one, I've told you that it's the collaboration and it's the teamwork of members of the Ontario County Sheriff's Office, the Geneva and Canandaigua Police Departments, the State Police, the Seneca County Sheriff's Office, our investigators are working on the front lines every day to combat this. These are guns and fentanyl that were destined for the streets and the hands of people in this county. It's dangerous. My most sincere thanks to our investigators that work these cases on the front lines every day. They put their lives on the line to purchase and make sure these guns were purchased. Every time we have an overdose where somebody loses their life or they're incapacitated to the extent that they have to go to the hospital, the one common denominator in all of them, fentanyl. That's what's killing people. And for our people to go out and be able to proactively remove 2,600 doses of that before it gets into the hands of our victims on our streets, many of whom are teenagers and young kids who don't know any better, this is a huge win for us. Just my sincere thanks to everybody that worked this case. And again, as the DA mentioned, I want to say, I've said this before, we have a tip line, 396 drug. We have submit a tip on our app. These little complaints and these quality of life issues, and when people make a complaint and send us a tip, this is what can resolve. This is how these cases start. So please, when you see suspicious activity or you know there's frequent traffic in and out of an apartment where nobody's staying very long or a residence near you. Sadly, in this county, it's not just drugs that we're dealing with that are being trafficked through here, but we're dealing, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago in another bust, we're dealing with guns on a regular basis in Ontario County. Didn't used to be the case early in my career. Sadly, it is today. So it takes the proactivity of all of our agencies to work together and be out there to get these off the streets and out of these hands before they get into the wrong hands. So for me, thank you to our partners and our officers that worked on the front line on this case.
So we'll entertain any questions that you have. Yes, sir.
This might be for the sheriff. Where the I mean, he's got a lot of weapons here. Where's he getting them from?
Well, different places, and some of that is still under investigation. So members of this team are still working avenues of that. But the fact of the matter is he was able to get his hands on these very easily and was proactively reaching out to the police officers working this case, looking to sell these guns almost on a daily basis. So the investigation continues to kind of work this farther up the chain, but these are out there and readily available. You know, where he was coming from to us with them was Rochester, but there were other origins of them as well.
You mentioned that many of these were destined for Ontario County. Specifically Ontario County, or do you have reason to believe that they were going elsewhere like Rochester?
Well, they were coming from Rochester, but Mr. Boswell believed that he was selling them to people that were working and operating in Ontario County, the vast majority of them. So for him, my point was, is the person that was selling these, he was selling them knowing they were coming to Ontario County.
Are you able to elaborate from where in Rochester?
Different places that he was operating out of up there in the city.
So he also operated out of the city as well?
Rochester.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on what makes some of the items on the table so dangerous? Are they untraceable?
Yeah, I mean, what makes them so dangerous is the damage they can do. Like, these are assault rifles, large caliber handguns, there's large capacity magazines. So, you know, you think about how many rounds somebody could get off from one of these guns in a short amount of time. It's going to do a lot of damage to people. And as regularly as these shootings happen in Rochester, there is still a buffer between Rochester and Ontario County, but my point is they're getting closer and closer all the time, and it's our intention to continue to pour whatever resources we need to combat that and get the stuff off the streets before it gets into the hands of drug dealers that tend to, wherever they're from, whether they're our local dealers or they're dealers from Rochester that choose to come into our county and sell their drugs. Either way, we're actively going after these guns and drugs.
The other piece, as it relates, obviously the guns themselves are not coming from, gun dealers, from people who hold a license and are allowed to do that. There's street level sales. The other piece is, as you can look at this, he was also selling the ammunition for these weapons, which makes them like immediately usable, and so that's a concern as well when we're taking these and securing them, is that we were able also to buy the ammunition to use the guns immediately. So that's another concern that we had as related to the danger of these weapons.
Were any of these weapons stolen weapons? Were you able to trace the serial numbers and how did all that work?
We're still looking into where the guns came from.
Where is he now, and could you talk about the legal ramifications he's facing?
Well, certainly. So right now, he's housed at the Ontario County Jail awaiting arraignment. We expect that will be sometime this week on the indictment. There are different penalties that are available depending. So for the drugs, I believe he could face up to 14 years or 15 years on some of these. On the guns, with his criminal history, he does have 2 or more prior felony convictions. He's persistent felony offender eligible on those cases, so he could face up to 25 years to life on that. Based on his convictions, I believe the guns, the minimum on some of them is 8, on some of them is 10 to 25 years, if he doesn't get treated as a persistent felon.
As far as illegal sales operations go, relatively, how big is this one?
For us, it's not insignificant. We were able to purchase a number of guns on a number of dates, and again, that's not insignificant for us. But we're a small community. If you went back to Rochester, probably this is happening on a fairly frequent basis. But for our agencies, this is huge.
Were these sales all in Geneva, or where did they take place when you did the sales?
They were all in Ontario County. I don't believe they were all in Geneva. They were in different locations.
But the officers, they would go into another county and make
No.
I don't know how that works. When
It depends.
Yeah.
And it depends, because the definition of sale is actually the offer to sell. And so we've got to be cautious about this, because we have some discovery issues that we have to provide, as well as protecting our officers, our undercovers, our confidential informants, if any. So we've got to be cautious about.
This is all of the Ontario County Sheriff's Office undercover people that did.
No.
Okay.
It's all the Geneva Police were involved, Seneca County Sheriff's Office, New York State Police, and ATF.
All did some of these sales?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you believe some of these weapons that were sold ended up being used to hurt people?
Certainly, as they're testing those, there'll be comparisons made, and that's part of the ongoing investigation. It's not something we have or can offer right now.
Could either of you speak to his reaction when he was finally arrested? Did he express any remorse or reasons why?
We're not in a position where you can really talk about that at this point.
What's the value of some of this weaponry on the streets as opposed to, say, a legal purpose?
I would say that it will depend on where you're getting them, how you're getting them, whether you're buying in bulk or buying individual weapons. So we can only tell, and we can't tell you, for a number of reasons, what we paid for each of them, but it would depend on what you were buying, where you were buying it, and how many you were buying. Okay.
Could you speak a little bit more of the public tips that came in to, kind of, that started this investigation? Is that usually how these investigations go?
Good afternoon, Ron Evelyn, Police Chief for the City of Geneva. Around the fall time of 2024, my office was receiving numerous complaints, mainly focused in the downtown area, and there was a wide range of this, such as loitering, possible open drug use in the public, just a lot of congregating on the sidewalks, things of that nature.
To come full circle, you were selling them out of Rochester. How is Geneva connected to this, I guess is what the question.
So the initial investigation that we launched, as that investigation started to unfold, that led us to Mr. Boswell, at which time it kind of expanded. We brought all of our law enforcement partners on board.
Where will this case be tried, and what's the next step in the proceeding?
It'll be tried here in Ontario County. The next step will be the arraignment on the indictment, which we expect to happen later this week, early next week. All right, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice job.